Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my epic rant on the 2009 travesty of a comedy, Lucky Fritz. This is another request from Brock, so I want to give him a special shout out for requesting this review. If there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see or hear my thoughts on in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link is in the video description down below, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, Lucky Fritz, in my opinion, is hands down one of the worst films I've seen in years. And this isn't an exaggeration. I'm being 100% honest. This is tied with Scary Movie 5 as the worst comedy that I have ever seen in my entire fucking life. I hated this film. It was so irritating, obnoxious, annoying, dull, unfunny that it was stunning. I didn't laugh one time while I was watching this movie. There wasn't a single smirk. There wasn't a little brief, mild chuckle. There was nothing. I was just completely stone-faced and flabbergasted the entire time watching this movie because I just could not believe how stupid this film was. I could not believe how lame and lazy the attempts at humor were. And I couldn't believe how bad the acting was. I mean, this honestly probably has to be the worst performance I've seen from Corey Feldman. And when it comes to the films that I have actually seen in his filmography, I will take his over-the-top performance as Queenie, the transvestite vampire from Transsexual Transylvania in Corbin Nash 10 times over his performance in Lucky Fritz, where for some reason he decided to have an accent like he was the lost member of the fucking Beatles. I don't know what the fuck he was doing there. It was a massive mistake. It made a film that was already bad incredibly insufferable because of this stupid accent. And then on top of that, the accent didn't even stick. There were scenes where it left and he was just speaking normally, and then only by the end of a sentence that he was saying did the accent come back. There's just so many things about this film that are atrocious. The direction by Manuel is limp. It's pathetic. It's a film that's supposed to be high energy and silly and over the top in the same manner as something like Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, but he doesn't have the talent to really have the right amount of energy to it. So it just comes across as either forced or completely lacking any genuine energy to it. It's very flat. It's very lifeless. It feels like a cheap, low-rent, made-for-cable TV movie. And I know this was a cheap, low-budget independent film, but that's no excuse for the film to be as poorly directed as it is. There's so many scenes that just drag on forever, and with a better director, you can make them actually feel somewhat different. The film is repetitive so goddamn much of the time already as it is when it comes to the film's plot. You don't need the direction to be equally as repetitive and add nothing new to the fucking table. Then, on top of that, yeah, I'll mention the script again by Jason K. Allen. This script is awful. This script was one of the worst comedy scripts I've seen in forever. None of the jokes landed. I mean, there were jokes about horny worms, the cliched bullshit about, oh, there are a bunch of old women and they're trying to get into Lucky's pants and that's hilarious because they're old, or the whole thing where Lucky doesn't want to be considered to be gay, and there's this whole plot line essentially where he's trying to prove to this girl that he has a crush on that he's not gay, and so there's a whole scene where he's acting flamboyant and gay, and it's supposed to be funny because that's his attempt to not be gay, is to be as gay as he possibly can be. And then there's just the whole plot line about Lucky and how he gets struck by lightning, and it gives him these powers that make all these people attracted to him if he touches them. That idea is something that works for like a 20-minute episode of an anthology show. There's not enough there for it to work for a feature-length motion picture. That doesn't help either that the character isn't very likable and comes across as either kind of a dick or just so much of a dumbass that there's really not much to really uh, like or find lovable about this guy. And then he's got his best friend who's just an equally as dumb and annoying character. And just the sequences where all these people are hanging over him are just done in such predictable fashion, and when they're not predictable, it's just the kind of stuff that makes you go, what the fuck, really? Like there's a whole thing with this priest who reveals that he's got the hots for inanimate objects, and then at the end credits you see this priest fucking a tree. And that's supposed to be hilarious. That this priest is fucking dry humping and licking a fucking tree during the end credits. And there's this romance between Lucky and this girl that he has a crush on. Gretchen, who he really wants her to like him. And while he's trying to get her to like him, he's dealing with the conflicts of should I touch her to make her like me, to force her to like me because of this ability. And each time he gets into that scenario, he doesn't want to touch her because he doesn't want to risk her losing her personality or something. There's this movie star wannabe bitch who was a musician on a music video that Lucky and his friend watched in the beginning. And speaking of the beginning, this film starts out with a scene where it appears that Lucky is jacking off his best friend on his houseboat while they're watching a music video with this girl, this singer, Leslie Luttrell. And the joke is that, oh, he wasn't actually jacking the guy off. He was taking lotion and applying it to his chest because he was wearing a machine that's supposed to like give him abs or some shit. I'm like, that doesn't really make it any less homoerotic. Like you're still doing the same fucking thing, and regardless, it's like none of that is funny anyway. If he was jacking him off and he came in his hands, that's not funny. If he was and the fact that he applies the lotion to his chest to, I guess, help with the chafing of the machine that's supposed to give him abs, that's not funny either. So what were they thinking? There's so many things in this movie that you're just like, what the fuck? What am I watching? It's one of those films that's so full of cringe that it's very hard to sit through in one sitting. Like, I mean, I didn't even make it. I did not make it through one sitting. I got like 27 minutes into this movie. I got to the point where Leslie Luttrell is trying to get Lucky and trying to fuck him in his houseboat at the same time while his boss at this diner that he works at is also trying to get into his pants and serenading him with a fucking accordion ballad or some shit. That's the moment where I was like, nope, I'm not fucking watching the rest of this bullshit tonight. It took me days to finish this shit. God, fuck this movie. And the performances by the cast, I'm not kidding when I say this is the worst I've seen from Corey Feldman. There's a whole scene where he's supposed to be acting in a movie called Scary Windmill 2, and he's supposed to play this farmer character, and it is one of the most incredibly difficult scenes to sit through ever. I am not making things up. I am not over exaggerating things at all. If you decide to sit down and watch this movie, when you get to that scene, you will know exactly what I mean. It's the kind of sequence that's trying to be funny. It's trying to be so bad that it's good, but it's doing it in a way that's so obvious that it's just fucking bad. So in order to show you how bad this scene is and how hard it is to watch, I am just going to reenact it for you. And this reenactment is really close to the actual scene. It is that bad. So he plays this farmer, and this is the way that Corey Feldman's character Fritz acts in this scene. You better get off of my land, or I will shoot you with my broom. That is the way it actually plays out. I mean, what the fuck? Who thought this was funny? Who thought this was something that anyone would want to watch? That whole scene is one of the hardest try not to cringe challenges you will ever take in your entire life. And the film just meanders around constantly. You have this whole stuff where Lucky gets infatuated with his chance to be a movie star and starts acting like a dick. And then his powers start to wear off, and the movie star gal goes off somewhere, and he loses his job, and then he decides to go off into the wilderness because he doesn't want to be around anybody, asks God to strike him down with lightning again because he thinks that that'll help him get rid of this curse, this ability, and then he electrocutes his ass with what might as well be like 800 fucking, well, not 800, like thousands of volts, because he goes up to a electrical panel for the electricity for the entire town, pulls out a wire and electrocutes his ass. He should be fucking dead, but instead he's alive, like it's some Looney Tunes cartoon. And now his powers are gone. And that's where he gets the guts to finally tell Gretchen how he feels, and he gets the girl in the end, and they live happily ever after. And I'm supposed to give a fuck? I'm supposed to care? No. I don't give a shit about Lucky. I don't give a crap about Fritz. I don't care if he's lucky or not. I don't care if he gets lucky. Why should anyone care? You got John Friedmann, who plays his friend, and his acting was every bit as cringe and terrible as Corey Feldman's. Nina Kristin as Leslie Rutrell. She's nice to look at, but she's got all the acting ability of your average porn star. Julia Dietze, she was charming. She was the one actor in the entire crew and in the entire cast that I think was actually somewhat decent, but she didn't have a whole lot to work with. Alex Wedekind, who plays Brad, who I think is the boyfriend of Leslie, who's just trying to constantly beat up Lucky. And Lucky's so annoying in this that you're like, kick his fucking ass. Like, you're like, there's no suspense. There's no like, oh no, don't hurt Lucky. I'm like, no, beat his fucking ass. The less I have to see Corey Feldman try to be a member of the fucking Beatles, the better. Uh, Priscilla Bergley as Annie Ruth. There's not much there. I mean, the rest of the cast is nothing special. Doesn't really add much to the film. Very below average, substandard performances. And when it comes to any of the other technical merits, it's terrible from the cinematography. There's just a lot of sequences where it just looks like there's too much light. Like they shot it at a time during the day where the sun is just blaring, and so it just looks washed out. Or there's other times where it looks a little too dark. It just looks, it's not a very good looking film. The editing by Lars Roland is also a pretty significant misfire. There's a lot of moments where it looks a little choppy, and it really seems like the editor was trying to edit it in a certain way to make certain scenes feel like they have more energy, but it's just so obvious, and there's not much that is there to really hide the fact that this is essentially window dressing to try to cover up the fact the director can't really shoot these scenes very well, and it just comes across as really cheap and a really lame attempt to try to cover up some poor directing. And the music, fucking hell, the music in this film is every bit as irritating and as obnoxious as the rest of it. It's a mind-numbingly bad, repetitive loop of notes that just make you want to scream. They just make you want to rip your eardrums out and shove them up your fucking ass, because it's just so fucking repetitive and so annoying and so one note. It's the kind of catchy music that is the worst, because it's not really catchy music that's done well. It's catchy music that is catchy, but it's done in a way that just irritates you. It's nails on a fucking chalkboard. It's nails on all the chalkboards. It's really that fucking bad. It made a bad film that was already really difficult to sit through, nearly impossible to sit through. And there were other times too where the music was so fucking loud you couldn't even hear what anybody was saying. It's not like you were missing anything, because the writing is so piss poor and the attempts at comedy are so pathetic, but I mean, it still would have been nice to have heard some of the dialogue. It can't even get basic shit right. I just don't know what else to say about this movie, except this was just painful. This was really fucking bad. And I know Corey Feldman probably could have used the money, but man, you probably really could have been better off passing on this and doing something else. Because this definitely does not help your case when it comes to trying to be taken seriously as an actor. That's for fucking sure. I will take Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo, as bad as that fucking movie is, over this movie any day of the fucking week. I never want to sit through this film again. I never want to witness or suffer through this movie again. I don't care how much somebody pays me. I am never watching this absolute travesty, this just garbage, this just absolutely horrendous film ever again. I don't really have a lot of creative insults to throw at this film, because you know what? It doesn't fucking deserve any. Because it's that bad of a movie. It didn't really put a lot of effort into things to begin with when it comes to the writing or the characters. So why the fuck should I put any effort into condemning it any further? So anyway, thank you for watching my rant on Lucky Fritz. And as always, I'll see you later. See ya.